All right, good morning, and thank you for joining me on this new webinar. My name is Stéphane de Saint-Albin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Denial. I'm happy to welcome you on this new webinar this morning. We're going to talk about security for e-commerce websites and discuss whether these issues can be turned into opportunities for business. So as we get started, a quick reminder, we are broadcasting today using a new platform. Hopefully this will work as it should. If there are any issues with the chat room, to let me know, and I will try to fix that. Obviously you're muted during the duration of this webinar, but feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation using the chat room. All right, so today's topic is e-commerce. It doesn't come as a surprise to you that this is a major market today. You know, there's e-commerce websites by the millions, and the amount of money and revenue that is generated through e-commerce websites worldwide was more than $1,600 billion in 2015, and that number grew 24% from 2014. So it's a huge market. It has become a huge market. It has become a huge part of our lives. As a result, it's the primary target, or one of the primary targets, for cyber criminals looking for means to make money. And so, as a result, one would think that security for e-commerce is and should be a priority. As a matter of fact, it isn't as obvious as that. And so, my intent during this webinar is to give you some food for thought on, first of all, what the challenges are in today's environment for e-commerce websites to operate securely. Then to take a look at what solutions exist today. There's various approaches to securing an e-commerce website. And finally, to discuss, how you can turn security, your investment in security, as a competitive advantage, as a business differentiator. And I'll spend the second half of my presentation discussing the Cloud Protector solution that Denial has introduced a few months ago. So that's the plan. We'll start by taking a look at the threat landscape, what is happening today, and what the menace looks like. So traditionally, when you think about websites and security, there's three main risks that people are worried about. The first one is the most visible one. It's defacement. And in this day and age, we have a lot of options, or we have a lot of examples, including in recent news, hacktivists or terrorists taking advantage of weaknesses in the website's infrastructure to make their messages known to the world. The second risk that we are facing is unavailability as a result of infrastructure being down, issues, technical issues, or triggered by attacks, as a result of denial of service attacks, for example. And the third risk that people are facing is the potential loss of meaningful data, whether it's credit card information, whether it's personally identifiable information from customers, or even information that the e-commerce site is basing its business on. The outcome or the translation of these risks for businesses can be significant. First of all, the inability to communicate with your customers is as a major impact. It's a major issue, and people are really keen to make that their priority. Right? First of all, make sure that the website's up and that people can communicate with us. Because as a result of not being able to communicate, brand reputation suffers, business is lost, and there can also be some liability issues if you're subject to requirements such as the PCI DSS regulation or others. So that being said, let's take a look at what's happening today. If you look at the threat environment, first thing that we all need to realize that about half of the World Wide Web traffic today is automated. It comes from bots, and obviously there's good bots and bad bots. Like there's good humans and bad humans, or well-intended humans and less well-intended humans. So if you consider that 50% of the World Wide Web's traffic is automated, think about what the impact is on your website. However big your e-commerce site is, it's going to be discovered, it's going to be pinged, it's going to be scanned, right? And for some customers, for some e-commerce websites, the ratio can actually be 80%. So being able to differentiate between humans and robots is really significantly important. So how do people, get attacked? Well, first of all, hackers are leveraging vulnerabilities, right? They're looking for options to exploit weaknesses in your websites, your e-commerce websites infrastructure. They're using all sorts of techniques, and I refer you to the OWASP website for more details on that. I'm going to cover some of these examples today, but there's plenty of vulnerabilities that can be exploited. And what's interesting is attackers not only leverage vulnerabilities in your website or your application infrastructure, they will also leverage the business logic of your applications to try to break it, try to take advantage of any design flows. Now, so these are not attacks exploiting a vulnerability, but these are attacks trying to break the business logic of your website. And beyond that, there's they're exploiting, they're taking advantage of human naivety, right? So trivial passwords, social engineering techniques, and the mere fact that you have a vulnerable e-commerce site and that you're not doing anything or not enough to protect it is what I would also call naivety nowadays in today's environments. So now, if we're not completely clear again still on what the risks are, I just want to give you a sense of how significant an attack on the application layer can be. The visible part of the iceberg is what we all see as consumers or as business owners. Our website's been crawled, our competitor is stealing data from our website to make sure that they are more competitive, or our website's been defaced. Or we have a denial service attack, which means that our customers cannot communicate with us. These are problematic, if not worse. But there's all of the less visible consequences of an attack, and here we have plenty of examples of personally identifiable information being stolen, but also clients, visitors of our websites being compromised. Financial data being leaked, credit card information or social security information, identities stolen, and beyond that, in extreme cases, website completely compromised, owned by the attacker, and who then has the ability to take control, destroy the system, as we've seen in some recent extreme cases. So application layer attacks can be deadly, and we have to be aware of that. We have to make sure that we have a plan to prevent these from succeeding. I want to take a few minutes now to talk about some of the e-commerce platforms that people are using in the world today. There's plenty of choice, right? There's many standalone platforms that are being used. Some of them are integrated with your familiar CMS, and there's also plenty of security plugins that people can buy or use free of charge. And this is, the picture I'm showing here is the global e-commerce distribution of the technologies. The picture differs a lot, actually, from country to country. But what's interesting is there's plenty of offerings, right? Plenty of choices, plenty of ways to create and manage an e-commerce website that makes being in the e-commerce very easy. Now, obviously, all of these websites, all of these platforms are vulnerabilities. And so if you haven't already made that part of your standard operating procedures, you need to make sure that your platform, whichever you chose, is up to date, and not only once every 6 months, but you need to keep abreast of what's happening to your platform. You need to make sure that you are aware of the vulnerabilities that are discovered, and not only that you update your platform accordingly as soon as a patch is available. That's the rule number one, really, of e-commerce security. But is it enough? And I think the answer is pretty obvious. It's not. But let's first take a look at the point I was just making about vulnerabilities being discovered all the time. I don't want to belabor the point, but here's a few samples of what I was able to find on the primary platform, WooCommerce. It's just 5-minute search on the internet, right? There's plenty of exploits that are found, that are discovered, and that are patched. And so being able to patch your own environment is of primary importance. Same thing for PrestaShop, right, or others. I'm going to take another example here with the MAGENTO platform, which is pretty significantly used in France. There's plenty of examples where once discovered, the vulnerability is patched, yet many people tend to wait because they're not aware, or because they don't want to take the risk of applying the patch. For whatever reasons, it takes ages for these patches to be deployed. And the consequence of that is obviously people remain exposed to exploitation of these vulnerabilities. And that's where a lot of the issues come from. Now, I want to take a few minutes to give you a sense. I'm sure you're all familiar with that, but to give you to sort of span through the various types of attack techniques. What can be happening on your e-commerce website. And the first thing that we talked about is web scraping, or the aspiration of your content by your competitor, or somebody who wants wants to take advantage of the weaknesses in your system. Obviously, the impact can be annoying, if not worse. You can lose revenue because your competitor is very good at making sure that they are always cheaper than you are, which in some businesses it makes the difference, right? But there's also the ability for spammers to, for example, to grab information from your website about your email addresses or the email addresses that you are making public here, use that for their own benefit, for their own business of spamming people. And if you ask how do they do that, well, there's plenty of work, plenty of tools available for you to find on the internet. I did a little search here. It's relatively easy. Even your favorite spreadsheet Excel can do that, right? So being aware of the fact that it's possible is one thing. Then what you need to do obviously is to make sure that you prevent that from happening if it's important to you, right? So one of the things you can do to protect your website, your e-commerce website, from being scrapped is limit the frequency of user requests, and make sure you have a mechanism in place to make sure that only humans are able to ping your website, for example. Get rid of the bots or get rid of the bad bots, right? And one of the best ways to do that is to use a web application firewall. We'll talk more about that in a minute. When it comes to your email addresses, a good practice is to hide your email addresses on your website. Don't make them too easy to discover. Okay, so this is one way that hackers will get to your e-commerce website. Let's take a look at the another basic foundation of e-commerce website hacking. It's what I call data leakage, which is really basically intelligence gathering, being able to find out which CMS or e-commerce platform I'm using. Being able to guess, what my access codes are to, the database, and again, there's plenty of tools that are, available for anybody to do this. You don't have to be a super hacker to be able to do that. It's relatively trivial, and the protection actually is also pretty trivial. There's, at one point there's, things you can do in the design of your website to restrict access, and make sure that only, you have the ability to write and as opposed to read. And again, a web application firewall here can be very helpful. The next one is the obvious and the well-known SQL injection, right? So it's the ability for a hacker to use a form in your website to send requests that are actually SQL commands, trying to bypass the web server itself to go talk directly to the web server. This is so well known that I'm not going to belabor the point, but this provides an attacker, access to all the database, which means they can do whatever they want with your data. They can retrieve it, they can steal it, they can modify it, bring your website down, or publish on the internet all of the 150 million users' name that have been in credentials and credit card numbers that have been used by your customers. So protecting from SQL injection type of attacks is pretty significant. And there's things, again, you can do within the design of your application, of your website, to protect the the request from being to limit the number of requests that can be processed by the database. The other obvious thing you need to do is to keep the platform up to date, make sure it's not vulnerable to SQL injections. You can do that by testing your website from time to time for SQL injections using a vulnerability scanner, and updating, again, tracking all the changes that are made by the community that is updating the platform that you're using to make sure that it is always unpatched. And finally, using a WAF will also provide a good level of defense against these injections, whether they're SQL or others actually. All right, so what happens next? What can happen next? you've all heard about the infamous cross-site scripting. What attackers are doing there is primarily using the weaknesses of your website to get to your visitors and access your the visitors of your websites. Sort of open channels to get to information. So it's either cross-site scripting or cross-site request forgery, but it's the ability to, attack, take advantage of a vulnerability on your website, post a script, some code there that will, invisibly or, without people being aware, infect every visitor on your website, steal their credentials, even capture whatever they do on their keyboards or on their screen, and it's very powerful. It's a very powerful attack technique. Again, how to protect from it? There's things you can do by encoding your HTML to make sure that the database isn't displayed whenever somebody sends a request. But again, ensuring the platform is up to date using your WAF is also a very obvious technique. Malware infection is sort of the same idea. You have, a hacker will be able to take advantage of a vulnerability on your website to install a backdoor. And once the backdoor is there, there's no limits to what they can do. They can deface your website, they can change the content, they can reroute pages. All of this again is done, using tools, rootkits that are readily available for anybody who wants to, be a hacker. So protecting from that requires a little bit of discipline. Testing your websites for vulnerabilities, patching them, being very limited about how the upload capabilities you provide on your website. Ensure the platform is up to date. Use a WAF, and backups. Obviously, use backups. Create backups, and make sure that they actually work. Make sure that you can actually restore from the backup file, because sometimes surprises happen there. All right. Last but not least, denial service attacks, right? So this is the ultimate bad news for any e-commerce owner. My site is brought down, so much pressure on the web server, I can't, communicate. I don't exist anymore on the World Wide Web. People don't get to me, or when they try, it takes forever. Denial service means no revenue, means the end of e-commerce, right? So I don't know, to what extent you want to qualify this as the ultimate attack, but it's really bad, right? So how do they do that? Well, you all know the drill, right? Send too many requests per second, maximizing the ability of the website to take these requests, bringing the website down, or sending requests that are too heavy, that require that sort of take all of the memory that's available for the platform, or use smaller but very large number of requests, using botnets to max out the server's ability to respond. How to protect from that? Again, ensure the platform is up to date, protect the resources, verify your access rights, delegate some of the content, the static content part of your website to a web application firewall that has caching capabilities, or CDN. Limit the frequency of user requests. Again, make the difference between bad bots and good bots, and make sure you know who's trying to access your website. If somebody sends 10 requests per second, you're pretty sure it's not going to be a user wanting to do commerce with you. All right, so this is the first part of my presentation. let's now see how we can turn security, the investment in securing our e-commerce websites, into a business opportunity. I really think that you can do that, right? So the first thing that, as an e-commerce owner, you worry about is your conversion rate. And I think security can help you increase your conversion rate. Because website security is not only about blocking attacks, it's also about making the traffic optimal, right? And accelerating your traffic by taking some of the workload away from the web servers themselves so they can do the more intelligent and dynamic stuff. So having a solution in front of your web server, web application firewall does that. That takes care of delivering content and increase the user experience. Obviously, you need that security solution will, by eliminating malicious bots, right, will both prevent your websites from being attacked, which can be up to 80% of your traffic, and also save on your bandwidth because you're paying wherever your website is hosted. You're paying for how much bandwidth is attacking your website. So being able to reduce that also is a money saver. Preventing attacks from succeeding, both automated ones and the more targeted / manual ones, increases your conversion rate because you can dedicate your bandwidth, the bandwidth of your website, to people that are actually here to do business with you. And finally, ensuring availability, is also helping you increase your conversion rate, making sure that your website is always available, even when under attack, even when there's a huge peak in traffic because of volume, your business traffic, or because of attacks, right? So this is one way to look at this. Another one is looking at this more from a sort of a general business perspective, but your reputation depends a lot on how people think about you as being a secure e-commerce site, right? So being able to demonstrate to your users, to your customers, that when they deal with you, they can be sure and certain that their transactions are going to be carried forward, that they are not going to be hacked, that they're not going, their financial data is not going to be made available to whoever tries to steal it. Being able to be certain that my data, the data that I entrust to you as an e-commerce website, is secure. It will not be readily available for hackers to consume. Be it as a user, as a e-shopper, or as a company, a business partner of yours who is selling through you. I want to make sure that my data, the data by my goods and my services, remains well protected. So being perceived by your audience as a reliable, secure business owner is going to be very important for your business. And my pledge is, consider this investment you have to make in security as a way to increase your business advantage, or to create a business advantage for yourself that is a long-lasting one. All right, so what are the options now? Let's talk about how we move from wanting to be perceived as a secure website, e-commerce website, to becoming one, right? There's two options, really, from the perspective and based on the experience that Denial has, right, in this space. First of all, you can use our enterprise class web application firewalls and create a very secure policy that will be adjusted to the needs of your business, to the needs of your e-commerce sites if you have more than one. You can do that yourself. You can run the WAFs in your own data center, or in a hosted environment, or in a public cloud, on Amazon or Azure, managing the WAFs themselves yourself, or asking a managed service provider to do that on your behalf. That's the sort of the traditional, or the way we've been helping e-commerce websites secure their business until very recently. Now there's another option, which is slightly different in its approach, but it's our Cloud Protector WAF as a service, which is based on the same technology, but has taken the approach of making things a lot simpler and automated. So less granular, less ad hoc customization of the policy, but very simple, fully automated, and also taking advantage of the innovations that have made our web application firewalls successful. I want to take now a couple of minutes to tell you about examples for both cases here, so we can clearly understand the difference between the two. So the first example I'm going to take is, I'm not allowed to say their name, but it's a very significant customer for denial in France, one of France's top 5 websites. They're selling travels, they've invested a lot in web application firewall technology recently, after having gone through a number of back and forth on how to secure their e-commerce and how to handle attacks. So it's a very mature customer, and as you can see, their investment in their IT or their website security is significant. Right? It's a big team. They have a huge volume of business, and they also have a significant investment in website security with our web application firewalls and other technologies as well. What they get out of this is the ability to respond fast to a changing threat environment, to adjust, the ability to virtually patch vulnerabilities as soon as they discover them in their e-commerce websites. Quality of service, the ability to ensure their customers that they will be there and delivering what customers are expecting from them, even at very heavy times when they do promotions, where there's a huge increase in their volume of activity. And finally, privacy regulations, being able to adjust to what the law says in France or in Europe about how they're supposed, as a company, to protect our personally identifiable information. So that's the first example. The second example is a much smaller e-commerce website, also based in France, that recently approached us when we introduced Cloud Protector, and they were basically overwhelmed by attacks. They saw their revenue cut by 2 because of attacks that were fully automated but targeted. So the guys were really in dire need for help. It was their own life that was getting really messed up because of this. And so in a matter of minutes, we were able to help them by controlling who is preventing those attacks from succeeding, first of all, measuring where these attacks were coming from, at what time, being able to better understand what was happening to their websites in terms of attacks. And the secondary benefit that they saw, and I'm sorry, these screen captions are in French, I should have updated them, but you can see these graphs here. They show the amount of bandwidth that they saved because as a result of putting Cloud Protector in front of their e-commerce websites. That's both gains in cache and compression. They are pretty significant, up to 25%. So these are 2 examples. Now let's go into the details of what Cloud Protector provides to an e-commerce website owner, whether you're a small or a very small website, or even if you're a much bigger website, e-commerce business, there's probably a number of things that you can gain from using this solution. The 6 primary benefits of hiring Cloud Protector are here: simplicity, security, scalability, monitoring, performance, and confidence. So let me walk you through these one by one. Best of breed security made affordable. Let me start with security because we're a security company. We have been for 15 years, and what we've done here is really not to sacrifice on security. We've actually taken all of the expertise that we've built over the last 15 years and that have been made us recognized in the industry as a primary as a premium vendor, and build them in preconceived, pre-calculated security policies, 3 actually, that really optimize security performance, meaning they will prevent attacks, real-world attacks, and minimize false positives. And this is applicable to not every attack that is possible in the on a website, because there's no guarantee that somebody will not be able to go around the service, but it is very efficient against common attacks. All the injections and cross-site scriptings that we've talked about, the directory traversals and remote file inclusion techniques. It is able to block zero-day attacks that are using these techniques, because it's we have different engines in there that heuristics in particular that look at what the requests are attempting to do, and is capable of identifying new methods, new attacks based on known methods. So very efficient for the benefit of making sure your websites are protected, and removing the noise, removing the majority of the attacks that are automated. And this is done by Denial, as I said already, a vendor that has a little bit of expertise in that space, because we've been at this for 15 years now. We were recognized by Gartner as a visionary in the WAF Magic Quadrant, and we're certified and qualified by the French government for being very good at this. So what that means from a security perspective, we've seen that earlier in the example, but is very detailed security reports that show you where how people are attacking you, and that is data you can actually use to go back to your business, to the creators of your website, and ask them to do modifications to it to ensure that it's less vulnerable than what it is today. First thing, security. Now let's talk about simplicity. This is where we've made a significant effort to make sure that it's very simple, that you basically don't have to be a website security expert to be able to use the solution. We've simplified things as much as we could, and what that means is all you have to do now is subscribe, choose the plan that matches your needs and budget, upload your certificates, redirect your traffic, and you're done. And then the only thing you'll have to do is look at the reports, and you can choose whenever you want to receive those reports, and potentially make decisions on some of them. Cloud Protector, is a fully robotic WAF. It's fully automated. It will take care of accelerating your website and securing it, including SSL termination, obviously. And the only thing you may have to do, depending on the plan you choose, and depending on the complexity of your e-commerce website, and whether some of the requests that will be wrongly interpreted by the service as an attack, is review and approve or not the pages, the blocked pages that users will tell you was bothering them. I'll get back to this in a second. Let's take a quick look at how the configuration works. So here you see the three levels of predefined security policy: standard security, advanced security, and high security. The first two shouldn't really generate any false positives because they've been tuned. They're using techniques that we've really tested for many years and are proven to be very efficient. High security increases the risk of false positives, but it also increases security. So anybody wanting to be a bit smart and attacking you in a creative way will likely be blocked. Although there's a chance also that the service will block some requests that are valid, and that's why we have the ability to manage exceptions, as we'll see in a second. As you can note here on the bottom line, on the bottom part of the screen, you can, by default, we're blocking and reporting, but you can also choose, if you want, to only report. So being able to verify, maybe in your trial period or as you release a new version, that there's no interruption of service as a result of the WAF, of Cloud Protector, being in the way. SSL configuration, as you can see, is as trivial as uploading your certificate files and private key, and you don't need to be an expert to be able to do that. Although, I guess any website administrator should be able to do that. Now, the redirection of your traffic to Cloud Protector is probably the most technical part of this, but we'll provide very detailed instructions on how to do that, how to change your DNS settings, giving you all the information on the addresses that you need to set and so forth. And we're here to help you if you're struggling with that as well. So let me talk a little bit about the situation where you've created you've put your e-commerce website behind Cloud Protector, and now there's a few customers that are being blocked because I guess we think the service thinks that some of the requests are attacks. Users, as they are blocked, will see this page or something that looks like this page. And as you can see, there's a request access button here that they can use to signify, to notify you that they think they shouldn't have been blocked, right? And this is a smart mechanism that is actually preventing bots from responding and creating alerts. So it looks trivial, but it's a little bit more than that. And what this does is help you monitor, whether the website, so the Cloud Protector service is unduly blocking people. If you get these in a report, you can actually take action, and it's been simplified to a way, to the extent that it could. Now you can create exceptions on each of these alerts. You can actually create also generic exceptions if you want to block certain origins or and so forth. But this is how you create an exception, and you can do that on the method, the path, or the query itself. So a very granular approach to creating exceptions. All right, so I've talked about security, simplicity. Let's talk about scalability. I'll go a little bit faster. What scalability means is really, the Cloud Protector service is a native cloud solution. It scales. It's always available, and it learns over time. So it's able to improve over time. And it's also a native solution in its philosophy, meaning we only charge you for the amount that you consume the service. So it's monthly payments. You can change your plan or interrupt it anywhere at any time during the process. If you're a business that has a lot more, a lot of websites, for example, or has a very industrialized method of managing your e-commerce website, you can actually use the API that Cloud Protector publishes for subscribers to the business plan. It's a REST JSON API It's designed for integration and automation, and it's very efficient. Performance, number 4, user experience is key, as we said earlier. Compression and caching delivered by the service can help you save on your bandwidth, save time not only for your users, but also save money for you in terms of your bandwidth. Monitoring. The tool is a great security tool, but it's also a great tool to monitor how your website's performing. You measure, the number of requests, the volume and the rate of the response. Figure out who is visiting your website. The 80% percentage that I was referring to earlier. This is where you'll see this, right? You'll see regular users versus bots, and it's good intelligence, good knowledge about your e-commerce. Finally, confidence. This is about running in a sovereign cloud. Denial has been working on this for many years, and initially we ran this on Amazon. We've made the decision when we introduced the service back in January in a more meaningful public way to run it in a data center that is based in Paris, because our primary focus today is Europe. We want to have, we want to provide our customers with the assurance that the service runs the closest to their servers, and in a reliable fashion from a privacy perspective. That being said, this first version of Cloud Protector will soon be available through partners to customers around the world. We're working with partners to make this service available to you wherever you are in the world. The technology is portable. It's software. We can deploy it on Amazon. We can deploy it on any, on vCloud, on OpenStack, and we're actively working on that right now. Let me take a few minutes to tell you about plans and pricing. We have, as you'll see on the website, 3 basic plans: personal, professional, and business. The enterprise plan is the volume discount-based version of the business plan, with differences both in terms of the bandwidth. There's a limitation on the bandwidth on the personal website, professional plan, and the business plans. You can see that if you use the personal plan, you'll be able to use the standard security policy. If you use professional, you'll be able to choose between standard and advanced. And finally, if you subscribe to the business plan, you'll be able to choose between standard, advanced, and best-of-breed security. Anti-DDoS at the network level is embedded into the offer in the business plan, which is one of the reasons why it's a lot more. It's a bit more expensive, but still, if you think about it, it's a relatively minor investment. All right, so before we sort of summarize and take a few of your questions, let me sort of sum up what Cloud Protector delivered. It's advanced security made simple, right? It relies on proven technology that Denial has been able to create over the last 15 years, combining signatures, heuristics, grammatical analysis to provide the best security possible while minimizing false positives. It's affordable not only in its price, but also because of the way it's been designed. It's fully automated. You have nothing to do, or almost nothing to do, just managing exceptions on occasions. And finally, it's coming soon to a data center near you, as I said earlier, currently hosted in a European sovereign cloud, but it is based in Paris. We're not subject to the U.S. Patriot Act, and neither is our provider and partner Telehouse. But we'll be making this service available to you wherever you are, using through partners. And our intention is to do that at the worldwide level. Now, let me conclude or summarize. The topic of today's webinar was, is security an issue, or can this be an opportunity? I hope I convinced you, or I gave you a few elements to realize that it can be, it is an issue, but it can be an opportunity, right? So the first thing you need to keep in mind as a conclusion here is that as a business owner, as an e-commerce administrator, you are in charge of your site and your data, or the data that is entrusted to you. You cannot rely fully on somebody else to do that. This is your responsibility. And so you need to keep your platform up to date. You need to test it for vulnerabilities. You need to make sure that any components of your e-commerce website that you're relying on, whether it's inherited from an open source project or a community project or subcontracted to somebody, is secure. And then you need to beef up protection. I'm going to start with backup and restore. It's an obvious thing, but that's the basic elements of being able to run as a business, is to have a backup and make sure that it runs, that it is effective. In other words, that you can actually restore. It's not always the case. Filter request. Put something between your website and your users to make sure that you're able to stop these attacks, those automated attacks and those more targeted attacks. And, in the process also prevent denial of service attacks. Third recommendation would be to play the attack game. Not everybody in this room is able to do that, but I recommend you, if you're not able, ask somebody on your team to play attacker. And start looking at your websites from the other side. See how easily or not it is to find holes, to find vulnerabilities, to gather intelligence, and to make your e-commerce, to put them in a situation, put your website in a situation of danger. That is the best way to augment, to defend yourself, is to play the opposite's role. And finally, stay alert. This, I guess my mantra for the first half of this webinar is keep track of vulnerabilities, update your platform, make sure that you do, service, be aware of what's going on and react. Don't let your e-commerce property remain vulnerable to a vulnerability that has been patched. That's sort of a basic 101 of website security. And finally, I hope I convinced you that security can be a differentiator. It's an opportunity for you to be perceived by your audience, by your customers, as a reliable and trustworthy supplier, and that shouldn't. That is for me a no-brainer, but it's better said than not. Before I take your questions, if there are any, I'm ready to take them now. If you want to put them on the chat room, just a reminder that Cloud Protector is available for you to test, free for 14 days. Just go on www.cloudprotector.com and start a trial, for free for 2 weeks. Once if you're satisfied with the service, if you think it does add value to your e-commerce, then you'll have a choice of options, starting at $29 a month, and would be happy to help you in that manner at denial. All right, let me see if there are any questions. I don't see any. That means that I've been very complete, hopefully, or you're too shy. We'll find out. What I would like to suggest is, on your way out of this WebEx, please take a few minutes to give me some feedback on the content of this webinar. Here's my contact information. If you want to get in touch with me or with Denial through me, I'd be happy to do that. I would like to thank you again for your time this morning, and I wish you a great and safe e-commerce journey. Thank you. Bye-bye.